Welcome back to another Minecraft farm video. Today we're going to test out villager breeders since we all need villagers. Some of us use them to trade away our farmed items, but most of us use them to get endgame items fast. So in today's video, we're going to test out 3 different villager breeders and I will show you how good they are and which ones you should build. All the villager breeders can be found in the video description. Now, let's hop right into the video. The first breeder we'll be looking at was designed by LogicalGeekBoy. This design works in both Minecraft 1.16 and 1.17. This design is easy and simple to use. It essentially makes use of an automated crop farm, in this case a carrot farm, but potatoes will work as well. One of the villagers harvests the crops and will throw food at the other villager in an attempt to breed. Once a baby is created, it will walk towards the beds and fall down into the collection area. This collection area needs to be a fair distance away from the beds to stop you having any problems. This is one of those designs you can get running fairly quickly. The main flaw this farm has is that it's directly attached to a crop farm. In typical use cases, this is fine, but it can cause you problems if you want to turn it off. You can turn this breeder off by activating the piston, blocking the villager pathfinding attempts to the beds. This way the villagers won't breed anymore. It would be best to keep crop farms and breeders separate to reduce lag in the long run, because they will continue to harvest the crops even when the breeder isn't running. Let's take a look at the next farm. This breeder was designed by myself back in 2020, right after the release of 1.16, and it still works to this day and should continue to work in 1.18. I've done several videos on this breeder since it was first designed. This design is very easy to use and can be built in under 5 minutes in the first days of your Minecraft world. Unlike the previous design, this one only contains a breeder. No farms, nothing else. This breeder contains 2 breeding modules in a very small space, meaning you can get twice as many villagers for the same amount of space. As with all breeding attempts, food is necessary. Since this design doesn't contain a crop farm, you'll need to get a steady source of food from elsewhere. You can feed food into the breeding cells by using a water item stream. You can also stop the villagers from breeding by cutting the food supply. If you use a water stream, you can simply reroute it elsewhere or stop it completely, thus causing less lag in the long run. I may be a bit biased here, but I'd highly recommend this design for the early game and for any other situation where you need some villagers fast. Now, let's take a look at the final farm. So, for the final breeder design of this video, we'll be taking a look at the late game villager breeder by a friend of the channel, jCraft. This is one of those mega breeder designs that can be scaled down and up as much as you need, and is meant to be used as a permanent breeder for a trading hall or anything else that requires an insane amount of villagers. I've built this design a few times and I've also made some of my own modifications which can be found in these videos. Once again, this farm requires a reliable source of food more so than previous farms, due to the sheer number of breeding pairs present in this design. You may want to set up an automatic crop farm tower if you want to make something like this, or alternatively a micro crop farm powered by bone meal. If you decide to build this breeder, you need to keep one thing in mind: it makes an insane amount of villagers, that much that it could crash your game if you aren't careful, but as long as you keep an eye on it, everything will be fine. So, since we've covered a few different breeders, I thought I'd give you some recommendations before you pick out a design. For starters, I'd make sure your crop farm and villager breeder are completely separate. This will reduce lag in the long run and will make your farms and breeders easier to fix if they break. And it will allow you to make a completely dedicated crop farm that can use any type of crop. Another recommendation is that for your food source you use carrots. This is because they're easy to work with and they're the only item that could potentially drop from a carrot plant. If you used a potato farm, you could get a build-up of poisonous potatoes sitting on the ground, which could cause lag. And finally, I'd recommend that the villagers you use come from villages. Ideally, you'd find these early on in the Minecraft world and you'd trap the villagers, allowing you to use them later on for your villager breeders. So quickly before we pick out the best farm, let's recap what we've covered. We have the LogicalGeekBoy design that is both a villager breeder and crop farm merged into one. We have my design which contains 2 breeding modules in a small space with no crop farm. And finally we have the jCraft design that's meant to be used for the late game where you need an insane amount of villagers. So, what farm should you use? Well, personally I'd steer clear of the LogicalGeekBoy design. Having the crop farm merged with the breeder can lead to unnecessary lag and can be very annoying to try and fix. Additionally, it takes up a lot of space for such a small reward, so I'd disregard this design. If you disagree with me, let me know why in the comments. That leaves us with my design and the jCraft design. I can't pick between either of these designs as they both have their uses. If you only need a small amount of villagers, I'd go with my design. It's quick to set up and very reliable. I've used this design for thousands of hours without issue, and I'd recommend it if you're new to working with villagers. If you need a large amount of villagers, then I'd suggest that you go with the jCraft Mega Villager Breeder. When you build this, make sure that you have a decent system that can handle all of the villagers that are produced. And there we have it. Those are the villager breeder designs you should be using. If you disagree or want to know more, I look forward to your comment. And since we're on the topic of villager breeders, why don't you check out this video.